Well, hello there. Welcome to my shop this morning. Got a little project we're going to work on, but before we do that, I noticed that the candy jar is getting down a little low here. Grandkids are coming, of course, and they'll want some candy. I, of course, never touch this stuff, but, well, maybe a little bit. What I do is I pick up these bags and just put them in the jar, and strangely enough, over time, they disappear. I think we're going to just make it with this, whatever's left here. We have a little bit of each type of candy everybody's liking. Okay, now that we've got this all done, we can comfortably get to work. Okay, our project this morning is going to be this little puzzle. Not a difficult puzzle for guitar players. If you're a guitar player, you might enjoy putting this together and then maybe standing it up for a display. It's got 5 guitars on it, all of the same type. You can call them whatever you want. It's got a bass on it, and each of the guitars has a locking key made from the shape of a pick, and those are going to hold this whole thing together. Now these little white boxes you see here are going to be representative of your typical bar pickup that you see on the guitar. And I thought what I would do with those, instead of just cutting them out and leaving a vacant spot there, I'm going to take them and at a slight angle of the blade cut them out, and just enough so that they'll raise up a speck above the actual guitar, so it'll sort of be a pronounced type of pickup on the guitar. I thought it would make an interesting little feature for this puzzle. Okay, so what we have to do first of all is cut this out. Now, whatever type of wood I was thinking of using, I have some cherry, which is kind of nice. And I'm thinking of maybe thinning it down to about a 1/2 inch or less thickness. This is going to be a stand-up puzzle, so you want to have some body on the base to allow it to stand up. So I'm thinking maybe a 1/2 inch would be a good thickness for it, and it will at the same time allow me to cut this out so that it won't have any warped effect to it as a puzzle. There's only going to be a few spots where they're going to contact. This is more of a display rather than a puzzle, although it could be done both ways. Okay, let's go find a piece of wood for this. Okay, I got a piece of cherry and thinned it down to about, roughly about a 1/2 inch thick. And what I'm going to do is first of all put down my usual tape, which I like to put on here. It helps to cut down the burning, especially in the case of cherry. Wood doesn't burn as much, or at all in some cases. Plus it helps with the smoothness of the cut. Get fewer fuzzies at the end, and also, most importantly, you have a place to attach your pattern so that it just peels off later on down the road. Okay, so we put that down, and we take our faithful glue stick, which is now getting empty. I'm going to have to go to a new one, and I'm getting down on these too, so I'll probably have to pick up some more. I tend to use the Staples version of a glue stick. It's a nice jumbo size, but you know, there's lots of those out there. Just smatter up the back of this. Get it nice and gooey. There we go. And we take our board here, and notice that I turned it over so that we have an overlap of the tape. So when I peel it off, it'll all come off at one shot rather than having to go back again and again. Still have to do a little bit, but not as badly. Okay. I got this nicely plastered down there, and we're ready to start our cutting job. Now, what we're going to do is drill some little holes for the pickups, and we're going to, as I said, slant the board a bit for that. We'll do that later on, but first of all we want to get this thing set up so it gives us a nice clean cut, so our puzzle pieces will come out nicely. So I think we're going to do that first. Okay, I'm over at the scroll saw, and I've decided I'm going to do these little pickups first to see if I can get them at the right angle and able to raise them a little bit off of the deck so that they're pronounced on the guitars. You're going to have that little hole there, but I don't think it's going to make too much difference since this is just a puzzle. So what I did was I made several test cuts here to find out exactly what I needed to do. And it turns out I needed to set my blade about 4 degrees to the right. The tape, the head of the scroll saw tilts to the right about 4 degrees, and I start and go in a clockwise cut around the outside of the framework, and it gives me a little raise, something like that. Now if that's too high or too pronounced, I can always take a sander and sand that down a little more to make it look a little better. But I think that'll work out pretty good if you want to try doing this kind of cut. So I think we're ready to try doing the actual cuts on these little pickups to see if we can get them to be pronounced. Okay, I think we're all set to try our first cut here. See how it goes. I'm using a number 3 blade on this, reverse tooth blade by the way. And we're going to cut in a clockwise fashion. So here we go. Okay, let's see if this works now. Take the blade off, raise the head up, and let's catch this. We don't want it to fall down into the bin. I think we got it there okay. And pull it up through there so that it is pronounced at the top. Okay, it's a little too pronounced, but that's okay because we can go with a sander later and sand these down. What I think I'd like to do right now is glue that in place so that it doesn't fall out while I'm making the other cuts. So let me do that right now. Okay, we're going to take just a little spot of glue here, wood glue, and just rub it on there. Okay, force that up inside, and that should hold it in place pretty good. We can try filling that in with some glue if the hole bothers you too much. Okay, let's do the second cut. Okay, we got another one cut out. Holding on up there pretty good. Put a little bit of glue on it. Don't need a lot. Just need to okay, I think we got a third one done. Okay. Okay, we lost this down inside the bin. Luckily, I've got a bin here, though. I can catch it rather than dropping it on the floor. Okay, put a little bit of glue on it again. Okay. Alright, each of the guitars now has its little pickup raised. Doesn't look like much now because we still got work to do, but I think it'll look pretty good once we're all done, especially if you end up painting these. Okay, so the next thing I think we're going to do is start to make our cut. Now we got to adjust the position of the head on the scroll saw here, of course, so that it's straight 90 degrees up and down. And again, we'll test it on a section of the board just to make sure that both the piece that we cut out falls both up and down easily. We don't want it to be crooked like these were, because they're not going to stay in one place. It's going to be a puzzle that you'll have to work with. Okay, we're ready to cut out the guitars now, and I want to make sure I have my blade at a 90-degree angle, which I did, which I set, and I'm using a different blade too, by the way. I'm using a number 5 blade for this, and it'll give us a little tighter cut on the puzzles. But the thing I wanted to check was the key pieces to make sure that they fall in and out, and we're at a 90-degree angle, and I did. I cut a little section out here, and it drops out the bottom with no problem, and it goes in the top with no problem. So that means you've got a nice piece that'll slide in and out in terms of your puzzle. Okay, so let's get going cutting this thing now. I think we can just start cutting, and we don't really have to worry too much about drilling any entry holes. And we're going to do all our cuts in a clockwise fashion. Here we go. Okay, it comes out very nicely. Get yourself a little guitar piece for the first piece of the puzzle. You can start cutting with any one you want, of course. I happen to just do this one, but Okay, we've completed all the cutting that we need to do here for the moment. And I just wanted to show you the last piece. Unfortunately, the camera cut out on me while I was filming this, but you can pick it up at this point, I suppose. What I did was I cut out the base, and I left the middle section in there. Now you have an option here. You can either cut that off, just slice along that line, and have an opening there, or you can have it closed off like this. I'm going to try it with this. I think it might make a better support for the actual guitars. They'll be supported with the hooks down at the bottom, of course, but I think that middle section would probably be a nice piece to leave in. You could take it out, however, if you wish to do that. In fact, you could include it as maybe another piece of the puzzle if you'd like to work that in. But I think we're going to leave that in there for the final puzzle product. Okay, I've taken off all of the tape and paper and just dry fitted it together here to see how it looks. And it looks like it's going to be pretty good. I think that centerpiece does add a lot of support for the puzzle when you want to stand it up. Although I do think if you removed it, I think it would be fine once you got that thing all set. Now, the next thing I want to do is take these guitars over to the sander and see if I can lower the pickups. They're up a little bit too pronounced. Except maybe this one. This is pretty good here. Flatten them out. And then I'm going to fill that hole in with some sawdust that I made from the table over there and some glue. And that'll fill it in a little bit so you won't see it as much. So I'm going to go work on that right now. Okay, over at the bench sander right now. And what I want to do is to take each of these little pronounced pickups and flatten them down a little bit. So as this is spinning, I'm going to just press this down very, very gently. I don't want it to go down too much. And flatten that out a little bit. Let's give it a try. Okay, I don't know if you see this. It's probably going to take a bit to focus this if I can. Yeah, there it is. Okay, it looks a lot better, a little closer to the body. And when you do this, you got to do it very gently and try to keep your hand as even as possible so that you don't get a crooked pickup in the end. So let's do the rest of these and we'll meet you back over at the bench. Okay, over back at the bench here, what I'm going to do is take some little bit of sawdust from the cutting that I did there with the cherry wood. And I'm going to take some glue. Let's get the glue in there instead of the air. Don't need a lot of this, but enough to mix it up into a little paste. And what we're going to do is fill in those holes in the pickups so that they're not as pronounced. I mean, you could leave them as they are, not a big deal. In fact, you might not even want to cut the pickups out. You might just want to leave them as plain old guitar pieces, which is fine too. But you might want to experiment with this and see how it works for you. So we're going to take this little paste now and fill in that hole. And you can fill in around the pickups too. I can sand this down a little bit later, so and look a little better. Okay, I think we've done enough damage here. What I'm going to do is just let those dry now a little bit, and we'll sand them down a little more, and we'll put them on the sanding muck too, I think, and run around the edges of the guitar so that it rounds them over a little bit, and might look a little better in the end. Pickups, I'm not sure how well they're going to work out, but that's part of the experiment here. You decide whether you think you'd want to do that, or just leave them plain guitars, or if you're a pretty good artist, maybe you could end up drawing on them too. That's a possibility too. Might even be able to make these guitars a little fancier than they do in plain wood. I'm going to be just a plain silhouette type guy and let it go that way. Okay, well, come back after this dries. Okay, I sanded down the pickup areas, but if you take a look at it, it doesn't really look that great. I think need a little more experimentation on those raised pickup ideas. What I would do probably next time is just cut them out completely so you'll see right through, or just eliminate them altogether. Or you could possibly, as I did here, I just outlined them with a cut in the wood using my box cutter. And I think it looks pretty good. It was just, it could just that little particular aspect of the project could be left out, depending upon how much you wanted it. Well, that takes us to the end of this project. I'll probably just leave it unfinished, because working with a puzzle, it's sometimes better to have just a nice smooth wood. However, you could stain it. You could put a sealer on it, or possibly even paint each of the guitars to make them stand out a little better. Might want to give that a try too. Okay, well, that takes us to the end of this project. Hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. I certainly did. If you liked it, please click the like button down below. Might want to subscribe to the channel at the same time. This pattern, by the way, if you're interested in trying this, I'm going to offer it as a free pattern along with the book that I have on guitars. I'll have a picture of it up. I have a guitar puzzle book. It has a whole bunch of different types of guitars in puzzle format, and you can pick that up on Etsy. Just click the link down below, and it'll take you to it. And if you purchase that one, I'll send this one along with it shortly after you make your purchase. Well, thank you very much for watching.